Rightio, Bitcoin is up 70% year to date. It's up 35% in the last week, and you're probably wondering why the media still won't talk about anything. It's because there's been so much going on in the news around the banks, and this is the perfect recipe for Bitcoin. Now, some things you probably don't know about what's going on in the market and why we're rallying so much. I believe it comes down to the 4-year super cycles that you may or may not already know. And I'm going to show you a chart here today that I think is going to surprise you a little bit about why we're rallying so much. But these banks on the brink of collapse, and we've had Balaji come out with a $1 million bet on Bitcoin, is all around how much money these banks actually have and potentially their balance sheets not being as true as what they seem. That's what we saw with Silicon Valley Bank. It's one of the reasons I got into Bitcoin in the first place, around just the ludicrous nature of how banks can only have to keep like 20% of liquid assets in the bank, and as soon as you get a slight hesitation on a bank being trustworthy, you get this bank run and it all falls to shit. And with the Fed being raising their rate so much, and these banks buying bonds, basically the bonds aren't as valuable anymore because they're not returning as much as what inflation is, so then they become underwater, and it's this whole thing. We won't talk about that too much today. What I want to talk about though is why Bitcoin's rallying so much, which, around the banks and inflation and everything else, but also where we're going in the future. Will we see Bitcoin start to roll over, or where we're going over the next few years and months? Got some exciting data here that I think you'll like. So this is some data that we put together for our members over Collective Shift, and I wanted to share with you today. And it's around where are we in the crypto cycle. Now, we believe the market runs in 4-year cycles. A lot of other people do as well. And if you see this chart down below here, the Bitcoin annual return since 2011, it's really, really interesting. Every 4 years, 3 out of the 4 years, we get green growth, and 1 out of the 4 years, we get that decline. Now, 2022 was that year for decline for us. We're down 65%. Same as the last 2 4-year cycles. Now we're about to land into the 2023, already 3 months in, are already up 60% for Bitcoin. Now, I believe this is around 1, the halving, but 2, just human psychology. With that year decline, people leave the markets. 75% of people buy at the top. People bought a lot at the 2021 top, and then they crash and they don't know what they're doing. They don't have conviction, they don't have the education, and they sell, and you get that cleansing out. And the on-chain analysis, which I'm about to show you, shows us that the long-term holders, the long-term people with conviction, come up, scoop those lower price assets, build up, and they're the ones that win over and over and over again. So really exciting, the fact that we're heading into this next 4-year cycle. We've got the halving next year. There's a lot of momentum. And as we spoke about, the reason why Bitcoin was created in the first place was to help around that, the banking failure. It's an insurance against the chaotic system that is the current monetary policy. And on the first Bitcoin block ever produced, I'm not sure if you knew this, but this news headline cutout was actually embedded in the first block of Bitcoin, and it was around how the brink of the second bailout for banks was about to occur. This is around 2008, I believe, and this is again why Bitcoin has shot up over the last few weeks around the Silicon Valley Bank, Silvergate Bank, Credit Suisse, Deutsche Bank. There's been words of, so there's a lot of cracks starting to appear in the system, and if you can't trust the banks and you can't trust bonds, who do you trust? You trust something you don't have to trust. You trust code and software, something that's never gone down over 12 years, something that you don't need individuals to make decisions of. And that's why Bitcoin is so popular. That's why I believe it so much. And, with that regulatory risk that's been overhanging crypto, we know that Bitcoin's not involved in that. Bitcoin has been called out as a commodity. It will never be called a security. That's what the government have come out and said. It's completely different to what they're cracking down around, securities and Ethereum and everything like that. And by the way, I'm not a maxi. I love a lot of the other tokens, but in terms of that regulatory risk, Bitcoin is not involved in any of that. Now, the on-chain data is another thing that I'm really excited about. We've shown this chart on our channel before, and it's around the MVRV ratio. And this is just shows us the comparison between the market value, so the price you can buy Bitcoin at, versus the realized value ratio. So the realized value ratio is basically like if I dollar cost average I've bought over the last 6 years, what is that value of that Bitcoin? So for me, my average price will be way below where the current market value is, which gives us a ratio between who's actually holding the Bitcoin, how much are in profit, and what price we can buy Bitcoin at. And if you can see this chart here, if you can see behind or next to me here, this red line, this shows us the $1 MVRV ratio. And every time that ratio goes below this red chart, we get a preceding increase in price. This happened in 2012, 2015, 2019, 2020, and now more recently it's happening right now. So this is a really good indication of where the market's bottoming and another bullish sign for Bitcoin. Now, the other thing as well, institutions, I know everyone's been calling for institutional adoption. Everyone sort of talks about it, but like, when's it going to come? Last year definitely didn't help with all the FTX drama and Celsius and BlockFi and whatever else, but I do foresee that regulation will help these businesses get more clarity. It's the reason why Tesla and a lot of these other companies put money, cash, in Bitcoin as a hedge against inflation, and holding cash at the inflation rate that we're traveling at is you're losing your purchasing power every day. It goes down, and it's why I believe so many institutions and businesses will put a lot of their cash into Bitcoin in the future once they know it's going to be safe and no one's going to steal their money, basically. So outside of that, we've got like Fidelity that are now offering Bitcoin and Ethereum to their retail institutions. For those in the US, you know how big Fidelity is. For those in Australia that might not know, Fidelity is a massive bank. I know a few people that bank with Fidelity, and it's literally inside the app. You can basically buy Bitcoin and Ethereum. It's like having it in your Combank or ANZ. So super, super big. BNY Mellon, one of the oldest US banks, doubled down on digital assets. BlackRock also partnering with Coinbase. And then from a broader Web3 perspective, we've also got Starbucks and Reddit coming into the play as well. So it's super bullish. We've been bullish for a long time now. We put out to our Collective Shift members back in December that Matt, our head of research, and I were buying back at 16,000. You're up 70% since then, sort of extraordinary growth. But yet, no mainstream media will be talking about Bitcoin, right? Because they're wanting the contagion risk. They want everything negative. But if you can see through and not leave this space during this bear market and you continue to build your portfolio, you're going to have the right rewards. And we're seeing that already at the start of this year. So super exciting times. If you're in crypto, you're a business owner, you're a busy professional, you just don't have time to navigate this space. You saw USDC, DP the other day, and it's just like, it's a lot of noise. We understand it. We know how difficult it would be, cover this space, and maybe you're not really even confident with your strategy. We've actually now offering these free complimentary one-on-one strategy calls. I'm doing it for the first few weeks. I've had hundreds of calls already, and it's been super, super valuable. We actually do these with our members, but we wanted to offer them complimentary to the market because we know so many of you were just wanting to talk to someone, and we can share some of our latest strategies, do a security audit, and just basically help you make sure you got the right strategy moving forward and you're confident with your investments. So it's no longer like a massive risk because we really help you there. So there's a link below, collectiveshift.io/strategy. I'm already booked out for the next week. They're coming in thick and fast. So jump in, make sure you jump on one of those calls, and we can definitely help you out. Thank you very much, and I'll see you next time on Collective Shift.